It's the Sports Peninsula podcast. Coming up, the Detroit Lions worked hard and drove forward down the field in an effort to defeat the Dallas Cowboys last Saturday on ESPN. However, they went for a 2-point conversion to win the game outright and avoid overtime. Alas, a well-documented penalty was called for an illegal touch, which nullified the go-ahead conversion, and ultimately the Lions fell 20-19. The Lions are guaranteed the third seed in the NFC and still have an outside chance to move into the second spot with a win this Sunday against the Minnesota Vikings at Ford Field. We'll discuss the loss in Dallas, the keys to victory on Sunday, and the possible playoff scenarios for Wild Card Weekend. Now, here is your Sports Peninsula team. Welcome, everybody, to the Sports Peninsula podcast. My name is Dave Jasinski. Drew, it is Wednesday, January 3rd. Happy New Year, everybody. Hope everyone had a great holiday season and safe New Year's. We're talking Lions football, and we have our roundtable -1. We don't have Detroit's finest today, but we do have Coach Andy Shield, the Marine City Mariners. Coach, how you doing?
One more night of Christmas lights outside and trees, and we're going to start getting things ready for 2024. But doing well. Happy New Year.
Good. Happy New Year to you, too. And, of course, we've got Uper Brad Harrison joining us from Wisconsin, but we know his heart's in the D. Uper Brad, how you doing?
Happy New Year, boys.
Wouldn't
want to be anywhere else than with the two of you on a night like tonight.
I love it. I wish we were talking about something a little more upbeat, but we are going to talk about that Dallas game. I think there's a lot of things that we can talk about are positive, but certainly a lot of things that drew a lot of ire. I'm sure from all of us and a lot of the fans out there. But the Lions fell 20-19 last Saturday in what would be Monday Night Football coverage. And it was a very close game, well-played game by both squads. Unfortunately, at the end, things didn't go well, and I'm sure we're going to discuss that a little bit. But first, I'd like to get overall your thoughts, Coach, on how that game shook out. And obviously, disappointment, the Lions lost, but did you find a lot of good in this one?
I found some good. I mean, there were still, this Lions group's probably going to have a lot of room for error, whether it be on offense, defense, or special teams. We watched the Rose Bowl where Michigan really made, several key gaffes and still was able to pull a game out in overtime. In the NFL, if you pull off, that kind of amount of mistakes, you don't usually get to survive it. Wouldn't say that the Lions played a bad game at all. That's not what I'm saying. But there were key interceptions. There were key misplays. It really comes down, and I would like to have some opportunity to have some discussion in regards to what happened at the end of that game today. But the biggest play, if we have to draw some ire for the Lions, I mean, aside from what happened at the end, was Derek Barnes. Just whatever he did, he just flipped the switch off. Basically, when he was going to have a safety, that's a 9-point turnaround. I know we had a turnover here or there, and some things that were costly as well. But in the end, we survived those. I did like seeing the drive at the end of the game to score. That was Matt Stafford like in many, many ways from this past era when we grew to love Matt Stafford as our quarterback. Those are the types of things you need to be able to see. They drove down on the Dallas Cowboys in AT&T Stadium for a game-tying touchdown. Well, game-tying, game-winning touchdown, whatever you want to call it. That's great to see. That was great to see, and that's led by Jared Goff. It was brilliant. And the offensive line, they were spectacular on that drive. Great to see. There are some, we stuffed the run pretty well. That was good. We were not good against the pass. Aiden Hutchinson flexed his muscle and got some sacks. However, they passed the football all over the Lions. CeeDee Lamb was able to get 200 yards. Aside from that, and what we can, and you know what, in regards to the referees, and like I said, I'm sure we'll be engaging in on that in a minute. We were misfortunate in having the last bad call. If this would have been somehow reversed and the tripping call would have happened last and it led to us scoring a touchdown to win the game or something of that nature, maybe that's how it would have played out. But we were, I guess, not lucky in that regard.
Yeah, you're right. You're right on all accounts, Coach. Brad, before we jump into that, because we will talk about that next, but your impressions of this effort and just how you feel about how the Lions performed in that game, even though they lost.
Well, we have a young team that now have playoff experience, because that was a playoff game that had the same intensity. We were on the road. We took it to the wire. It really, I understand seeding, and I understand why you want to be a 2 seed over a 3 seed. But that game, for what it was, week 17 of the NFL, you couldn't ask for a better challenge. The men in that room know what the challenge is now. And now we're going to see how they respond to it. So as we've talked about, in life and in football, the response is the most important. And they have the opportunity to respond. This isn't the end. This is not the end. This is part of the story that's going to lead to what it's going to lead to. So I'm firmly behind the leaders of this organization and where they're going to take this roster and this team. So it was a gut check. It was hard. That whole night was hard, wasn't it, guys? Like that. When that game ended, the night began. And we all had to live through it. And here we are, a few days later, talking about it.
Yeah, I wanted to run this by you guys. Maybe I'm paranoid, and I shit you not, every time the Lions made a play or Dallas had and vice versa, if Dallas, if Detroit made a stop, I didn't celebrate. I stopped for a second and I looked at the screen. I'm like, where's the yellow symbol? Where's the flag? I'm waiting for it. Didn't see it most of the game until I let my guard down and jumped into people's arms. I practically threw someone through a ceiling in a basement because I was so happy. And then I turned over my shoulder, and what did I see? FLAG in yellow and black font. Awesome. Let's talk about that, Coach. We look at the video. We weren't there. I wasn't on the field. I didn't have a mic with. I didn't have audio. But I found it odd that 68 walked directly up to an official. Jared Goff slapped him on the chest, said, "Go over there," and he did. What did he do? Say, "Hey, what are you doing for dinner afterwards?" I mean, what could he have possibly said that Allen misinterpreted somehow and said, "Okay, Dan Skipper, see you later," and just walked away abruptly? I found that very strange. Not trying to be I just thought it was very negligent. Your thoughts on this one, Coach?
Well, it comes down to this. That flag did not need to be thrown. It didn't have to be thrown. If you have a person that is just able to make the judgment. Now, did 3 offensive tackle type players by the name of Dan Skipper, number 70, Taylor Decker, number 68, and Penny Sewell, number 58, go up in the area of Brad Allen? They did this. They did this to maybe they did have the intention to not see who was eligible. What everyone's getting wrong, like Marcus Spears and some of these, and Roger Goodell and the Rules Committee so you're telling me they lined up. That was a legal formation, and I will bet my children's college education money on that. That was a motherfucking legal formation. I know what I just said. And that's fine. This is FCC. If we had it up, I wish we had that queued up. That was a legal formation. Who gives a damn what number reported to who? One of them is eligible and none of the other ones will be. And the one that reported, and he did, we saw it on video, he did report to Brad Allen. Taylor Decker reported to Brad Allen. I know 2 people that were at the 10-yard line of that end zone about 12 rows up by the name of Jim and Tony Scarcelli that were at that game. They saw it too. He reported. Everything was done correctly. You just have a confused referee that is not able to maintain flow and manage of just the rules of the game. He's got to look for a problem. And he's a problem maker. And there's no, there's no mistaking that.
Yep.
So, hey, it's over with. That's the way they see it. They said we were being deceivious by having 3 offensive tackles walk in the general vicinity.
Yeah.
One of them was eligible and the other ones weren't.
Exactly.
And Marcus Spears be damned. I know he's not going to see this and he doesn't give a damn who I am. He went on there today saying that was an illegal formation. Marcus, you make a lot more money than I do. Like I said, I will put the remainder of my salary for the year and you can donate it to charity if I'm wrong.
It's January 3rd.
That was a legal formation. That was 100% a legal formation.
Yep.
I'm done.
Brad, I'm going to let you weigh in on this too, because I know you've got some passionate thoughts in this as well.
Well, shame on the NFL. Shame on the NFL. If we are not men enough to admit when we're wrong, then what are we doing here? What are we doing? We're fining players if they speak out of turn? I don't know what America we're living in. And that's just something, right? Like, I don't want to say anything because I might get fined. Really? You don't have an opinion because of this league? And I love the NFL. I love what happens on Sunday, Monday night, Thursday night. I could do without. But I love what the league's become. But there are some leadership issues within this league that are evident. And if an official can't admit when he's wrong, like, why does everyone listening to this podcast from the state of Michigan know who Jim Joyce is?
Good.
Jim Joyce made a mistake. You know what he did? He was a man and he owned up to it. He took a perfect game away from all of us, but specifically Armando Galarraga.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I don't think poorly about Jim Joyce. I think here's a man who made a mistake. Brad Allen goes to some reporter where no one's heard the interview or can even see what they're saying, and he just doubles down. And what I see today is the NFL, here's how you should, report. Are you kidding me? This whole game is about deception. I'm not offended about trying to deceive my opponent in football.
Why put someone in motion?
Why are we gonna not do motion?
Yeah.
It's why we audible down to the fraction of a second.
Exactly.
Right. So I felt, I wanted my pound of flesh. I was impressed with our coach post game. I was with him a couple days later, the next day, when the reporters kept pounding him on the question. Like, he's got to move on. They've got to move on. The three of us can do this, right? Like, they can't. They cannot. Like, This is over.
Yep.
We can do it, but man, they can't. So to me, it's the response to what occurred. And what occurred was wrong. What occurred was absolutely wrong.
I would agree. And this isn't the first incident. I wanted to ask you, Coach, about a play, and we haven't been hearing about it. Maybe I'm wrong. Set me straight. But on that Derek Barnes play you were talking about, on that potential safety, which turned into the CeeDee Lamb 92-yard touchdown bomb, which was almost half of those 200 yards he got. I also noticed that, and I don't remember who the tackle was, but they had Aiden Hutchinson's shoulder pad like about up here. Now, I got to hold the jersey in order to get it up here, right? It don't stay, right? See, I got to hold it. Now, it wasn't called, okay? Third quarter, Jahmyr Gibbs rips off a 30-plus yard run. Holding, same thing. Legit call. It was a hold. Why the hell was it there and not in the first quarter? Now, I know the narrative is always, well, holding occurs on every play and you don't always see it. Bullshit. That was so painfully obvious. It was right in front of Prescott. So no one can tell me that at least 5 of those officials didn't see it. They let it go. But apparently it wasn't okay in the third quarter. So I'm confused about that. Did you see that in me? Am I off base? And if I am, I'm cool with it. But I mean, I just want to know because that's what I saw after Barnes blew the safety.
No, you're 100% correct, and that's something that I think Aiden Hutchinson specifically has had to face a lot of the year. The scheming against him is all going to lead to holds. You saw a hold, you did, you saw a hold, and the Lions benefited from the tripping call. That was against the. Hey, let's call it fair.
Mm-hmm.
That was against that. That was shit for Dallas. This is the ineptitude of the Brad Allen refereeing crew, who they got backed up and supported by the league, but downgraded it for the playoffs at the exact same time. So they're kind of playing both sides of the fence, which is not a horrible thing in philosophically to think about in life. It's probably good to be a little bit more balanced that way. But in this kind of a situation, there is a side, okay? There is a clear side that you have to be able to take, whether it's the Brad Allen's, it's not the Cowboy side or the Lions side. It just so happens to be the Lions side or the NFL side, which has been something that has been a reoccurring theme for 15 years or more.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't want to be that conspiracy guy. I don't really care for the conspiracy theories and those kinds of things. I don't. I believe things can be proven, for the most part. But it's amazing. But we won't have to deal with Brad Allen again, and no one should. But guess what? He gets one more primetime game, Pittsburgh, Baltimore, Saturday night. Unbelievable. We're downgrading you, but we're going to give you a marquee game. Holy smokes.
And not just a marquee game, but I mean, a pretty important game. I mean, it's basically a playoff game is what they're getting. From what I really have a hard time believing what I read anymore, but I mean, apparently this is predetermined at the beginning of December, apparently. So, and maybe that's true. As far as how the media covered this, for the most part, I'm actually surprised. A lot of media pundits have supported the narrative that Brad Allen missed. A lot did not, which doesn't surprise me one bit. Number one, this is the NFL. I mean, ask Mark Champion what happens when you tell it like it is. You don't have a job, and he was just getting ticked off about players jumping off sides and false starts as a commentator for the Lions. He ain't around anymore. I mean, that happens. The NFL Network, I mean, right there. I mean, that's disappointing too. The stance they took on it, because I actually that's the one network I actually watch because I kind of enjoy what they say. But I mean, it's like, give me a break. You're towing the party line. I get it. You're not, can't say anything against the officials. Brad, you brought up Jim Joyce. You stole my thunder. I was going to bring him up. That's the exact example of what happens when you're accountable. God forbid anybody be accountable for making a mistake. And it's amazing because, like you said, fans could, and I'm sure there's some fans that will never forgive him, whatever. But a lot of fans, I know, I'm not ticked at Jim Joyce anymore. I was livid the first couple days. You see the man's crying. I mean, at the home plate. I mean, he's emotional about it. He feels bad. He screwed up. And hell, if there was replay then, we're not even having this conversation. Right? That would have been an easy overturn. No problem. Everyone's happy, but unfortunately that wasn't the case then. Yeah. It's just unfortunate. I'm a firm believer in just be accountable. You make a mistake, own up to it. I mean, take your poison. I mean, Brad Allen, to me, and I read an article, and I don't know who wrote it, and I really don't care because I didn't agree with it. Well, you can't make them full time because then you'll lose a lot of these guys, and then maybe we need to.
Maybe they're the wrong guys doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
If they're earning a better living, then go live that better life.
Yeah. I find it hard to believe that everyone with a striped, black and white striped shirt right now are the only ones capable of doing that job at a high level. Now, I know I can't do it, and I know most people can't. But at the end of the day, I guarantee you there's some others that can. I don't know, maybe. But Well said, guys. I mean, we're pissed off too. We're pissed off. We're fans. But Coach, you brought it up. It happened again. There was a bad call against Dallas. That's an egregious call. It's a 15-yard personal foul, automatic first down.
Jared Goff, it doesn't get to continue the drive.
Yeah,
probably. We got some breaking news. Our Pro Bowlers have been named.
Oh, sure.
Tight end Sam Laporta, offensive tackle Penei Sewell,
awesome.
Center Frank Ragnow.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Defensive end Aiden Hutchinson, special teamer Jalen Reeves-Maven.
That's awesome.
5 Pro Bowlers for the Detroit Lions.
That's really cool.
First alternate.
Brad Holmes.
And there could be more. There could be more because you got Jahmyr Gibbs and Amon-Ra St. Brown, who are first alternates. You have Jared Goff, who's a second alternate. Jonah Jackson got to be a third alternate in the little football that he got to play. Way good for him.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's a bit of a surprise, but it's good.
And then Dave Montgomery and Khalif Raymond were fourth alternates, and Alex Anzalone a fifth alternate. I wouldn't be surprised at all if, well, you know what? They don't really play games anymore. I don't know how it really works, but if somehow Gibbs and St. Brown wound up there, but maybe none of them can go there. Let's hope that's
where
case.
I was going. Let's hope none of them can play.
Yep.
But sorry for jumping in there. I just wanted to.
That's good news. That's great.
Something. And Dave, you alluded to it really, really, really well, and so did you, Brad. We have this modern man society where weakness, for apologizing and admitting wrong is weak, and that's showing signs of weakness where we don't do this to people. I've never really seen someone do that and really look good in the end. I guess I've never really seen that work. I hear these tough guys, do their YouTube videos and, get their little spots on whatever, in the barbershop, whatever you might have. And thought about that. And like, I just never really seen that work well, but some people make, their peanut butter and jelly on the outside of the sandwich, guys.
This is true. And it's all okay. You're okay. I'm okay. We're okay. But yeah, I hear what you're saying. I firmly believe Pete Rose would be in the Baseball Hall of Fame now for 20 plus years if he would simply admit he was wrong. Yet his ass ain't never getting in there.
Because he won't do it.
He refuses to. No problem.
Would rather sign autographs in a memorabilia store in Vegas than do that.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but yeah, it's like you said, Coach, kind of a societal thing almost, and more power to the folks that have a set on them. Quite frankly, I know we're getting a little R-rated here. We're kind of pissed off though. You got to have a set to do that. It takes a real man to admit you did make a mistake, or a real woman to admit, hey, I made a mistake. I screwed up. Own it. Move on. People, you'll know who your true friends are at least at the end of the day when you do that. But you know what? You're a better person for it. And I agree. It's called integrity.
Sleep at night.
There you go. And with that, we're going to jump into the Detroit Lions review here. And Brad, I'm going to start with you. Let's talk about the defense and really what's at stake here. And I kind of jumped the gun a little bit. Let's talk the Lions, of course, are NFC North champs. They are third seed. They've clinched that. They can get the second seed if they win against Minnesota, but they also need Dallas and Philadelphia to lose. That's where it's at right now. We can talk more about that in detail in a little bit. But let's talk about this defense. And Coach, you touched on it a bit about the rushing yards against. Again, another stellar performance. Only 61 rushing yards against. But again, they do get gashed in the air for 345 yards. Only allowed 20 points. Did get 3 sacks. I believe 97 had all of them. Which was good to see. Got a fumble recovery. That interception's wrong. I apologize. But the time of possession is correct. The Lions, it was virtually even. Brad, your thoughts on this defense, because Dallas has been an absolute juggernaut at home. They haven't lost since October of last year, and they've been throttling teams at home. Detroit played their asses off and really took it to them. Your thoughts on the defensive performance?
Well, when you can make an offense one-dimensional, you're bound to be in the game. And CeeDee Lamb, just like Jefferson the week before, I mean, these are just talented NFL receivers. Like these are dudes, and you're going to give up plays. And there's no shame in that. It's what you do afterwards, right? Like if you're taking that run game away, guess what happens? 20 some seconds on the clock, you're down by 1 and you can win it, right? So I would say the defense, although the splash plays have been hard to come by this season, we're seeing the point where we need to get to. Kirby Joseph, interceptions. Aiden Hutchinson, pressures and sacks. 61 rushing yards given up. Like, this is a defense that's coming on. They're coming on. They, we could be getting some guys back. I don't know if what's Chauncey Gardner Johnson's name now? He changed his name or something.
Yeah,
James Houston. I don't know if we're not going to get a full 100% defensive snaps from these guys, but I'm telling you what, we're bringing talent back here that are going to be hungry to make a play. So we're trending the right way on defense, and we just went up against, like you said, an offense that was clicking, absolutely clicking. So clean up the mistakes. That I don't know if I'm ever going to get over that Derek Barnes. I don't know if I'm ever going to get over that play. But what are you going to do now? What are you going to do next?
Yep. So, How do you respond? Exactly. Hey, Coach, talk about this defense, because they've been probably the one unit on this team, and rightfully so, kind of maligned this year. They've had some great performances. They've had some really bad performances. Less consistency than the offense, let's say. But your thoughts on the defensive performance in this game?
Yeah, I mean, it's really what have been the concerns? Us being able to kick the big long field goal, the big leg field goal, and what Lions defense is going to show up, right? And that's kind of been sort of the concern. We knew that we'd be pretty good on offense. Really week in, week out. These. Based off of what we had last year, and we certainly have been. But we've really, the silver lining is this, that I think Aaron Glenn is that guy. I mean, his schemes do work. I mean, his, 61 rushing yards, against a high caliber NFL football team like the Dallas Cowboys, who have a very good offensive line. Their running back position, it looks different than it has in years past. Not for better or for worse. I'm not saying, anything about that, but we held that to 61 yards, 345 through the air. Here are the things, and it's been kind of a repetitive kind of thing, is we've had, mobile quarterbacks run wild on the Lions. And create all sorts of problems. And they throw the ball too, all over the place too. Or we have outings like this, and then against the more pedestrian quarterback and situation, we are able to generate pressures, like Vegas and McDaniel's last game. I mean, they literally quit on him. So, I mean, I think that was like beginner mode in Madden. On either the PlayStation or the Xbox, they just were just sacking, like the last 5 plays were all behind the line of scrimmage. We've got to be able to do that more consistently and able to do that without putting us in the position that we were in for the CeeDee Lamb 92-yarder. And that we had to gamble so much. We had to put, the poor kid on an island. Is it Vildor who was out, or that kind of got burnt up on that a little bit? Mm-hmm. We put him on an island, and this, dynamic athlete and probably all Pro Bowl wide receiver CeeDee Lamb, one-on-one on an island. He's going to beat you or not beat you. because we have no safety help over the top because we have to play so tight and press and rush six and do all sorts of things to generate a pass rush to create problems for the quarterback. So, I mean, we just got to get better from a standpoint of being able to rush the passer, whether that's D tackles, D ends, hybrid players, some safeties and corners, and creating, getting that position group even more athletically dynamic and more of a, flexible and hybrid like, so that, the Iffy Melifonwus, we have more of that kind of player, whatever it's going to take. That's where the exposure is. And I guess, too, to be able to back up away from the Dallas game, which, hey, by the way, I mean, let's face it, 3-4 weeks ago, we would have thought we were get murdered in this game.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought when we were fading and losing to Chicago and losing to Green Bay at home.
Yeah.
It'd be ugly. It'd be like 35-7 or something.
Yeah, that was my fear.
And that's that's not the case. And the defense, hey man, I mean they score 20 points.
Yeah.
So just a lot of yards through the air.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I think it's important for
92 of those yards came on one play.
Yeah, you take that back. So that's 92, 345 minus 92. I want to say is something like 337 or 237.
Yeah,
or 257.
Yeah.
That's more.
We went to Western. We'll give you a little breakdown now.
There you go.
I'm going fast. No calculator.
Yeah. Hey, but you know what? At the end of the day, I know as a fan we get frustrated because we'll see big numbers from like lesser opponents. And I'll say it, Green Bay and Chicago in particular. Even Nick Mullins had 411 yards passing, but he also threw 4 interceptions and was sacked 4 times. So that evens things out. At the end of the day, it's about that scoreboard too. The Dallas Cowboys are a great football team. They're a Super Bowl contender. If they can stay at home, they're going to be a very difficult out. That being said, I'm not afraid of the Dallas Cowboys now. I know Detroit can play with them. I know they can beat them. No guarantees on anything. They've got to play better football and fewer mistakes. But, that's a Dallas team that forced a lot of errors. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit right now because, Brad, let's talk about Jared Goff. Not a great QBR rating by any means. He did throw a couple interceptions, 271 yards passing and a touchdown, 19 of 34. I felt both interceptions were very nice plays by the Cowboys, especially the second one in particular. But you got to limit that, right? But at the end of the day, the coach had said earlier, he led that last drive very brilliantly, and I certainly wouldn't say he was a liability. But talk about what you saw with Jared Goff.
Yeah, I mean, ball protection is going to be critical as we go, and I think you're right. I mean, those are tremendous plays on the ball from the defense. When I watch Jared Goff, I see a quarterback in control of his offense. There is nothing, his athleticism isn't going to bail him out, right? So that's a limitation. But I'm going to take the control of the offense over that right now, and the demeanor, the understanding of where the ball is going to go, where and the expectation that he has of his teammates to block, to catch, is where this thing's at. We are going in to the tournament with a quarterback that's in control of this offense. What else you want? So, I'm appreciative of the work he's put in as the Detroit Lions quarterback leading up to this point. Football is a game that we strive for perfection, but we hardly ever find it. And guess what? That's okay. The win at the end of the season, we're going to win more with him. We're going to win more with him from this point forward than vice versa. So he doesn't need it. People on YouTube telling him about these interceptions and what he did wrong and what he and you can't run away from that. Right. He knows it all. He's going to make the best decision he can. So I'm glad he's our quarterback.
Those damn YouTubers. Oh, by the way, quick subscribe if you want to keep getting updates from us. I'm kidding. No, I agree with you. Yeah, it's right. He knows what he's got to do, and he is in control. That coach, I think Brad was quoting Vince Lombardi. You strive for perfection to achieve excellence, because no one will ever be perfect, but you can achieve perfection in terms of record and what have you. Let's get a Lombardi trophy. But what were your thoughts on Jared Goff in this game?
He it wasn't one of his best games, and that's not saying that he was a forced error machine or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying. He's had better games. I mean, he just has this year. He's for more frequency. I mean, the one we just saw him play was at 30 for 40
Yes.
for a couple of touchdowns, no picks. I mean, that's a better game. I mean, that's just a better game. Brad really did a nice job with it. The key to stopping Jared Goff and making life miserable for him is to make him throw it. Not when you want him to throw it. Make him throw it when you want him to throw it. If you give him the time, I mean, he's as good as there is in the league. But he cannot get himself out of trouble. He does not have the feet and the athletic skill set to do that. It's not a fault. It's just who he is. So, you can't. I think the first pick, that was a really, really nice play by the Dallas Cowboys. The second pick, that's on Jared Goff. That one, I mean, you can't throw the ball down and low towards the sideline. It's going to give an angle for a guy to make a play. If the ball is high and up and way up, if you're trying to get rid of it, get rid of it. And or just take it now. Just take it and go down and take the sack. Because I mean they got to protect for you, Jared. But I mean just think of what he did. Okay, he had that. That was not a good football play. That was not a good football play. It hurt them. But they scored. They went down and kicked a field goal. Dallas did. Off of that one, he gets the ball right back. Boom. We come right back, right down the field and did that. So I mean, he is that is the guy. That is the guy that's going to lead him, forward. He's the guy that's going to hopefully win this football game on Sunday. He's the guy that's going to get us, that whoever it is that we play the following weekend in the first round at home, a playoff victory there. And he's a guy that's going to hopefully get us an opportunity to play right back at that stadium in another couple of weeks. And do it, because I absolutely and I've said it before. I don't know who really cares about what my opinion is anyway. I can have a negative opinion of Jared Goff on a specific play and still think he's the finest quarterback possibility we have. And he's going to make have shiners like that from time to time. He bounced back and we got the game in a position to tie it. So really, if anything, that 19 for 34 is an indication of the Dallas defense and Dan Quinn, who's a great coach, and that's a great unit. Taking something away from him is really what that was. And it made him, throw, so a few more incompletions than he normally would. But, hey, he did everything he could to possibly win us that football game. There's no two doubts about that.
Yeah, and you're right about, of course, not every player is going to make a great play every time they touch the ball. There hasn't been a player like that, and there never will be. Hell, you could look at Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Brock Purdy, Dak Prescott. Every one of them have lost games this year and played, and at times played very poorly, but overall pretty good quarterback. Jalen Hurts, that's a great example there. Lamar Jackson might be the only one I'm not going to name. Now, Tungo Bailoa.
This year, but he's had years where people have said, he's figured out.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So, we can't – I don't really see that happening. Goff is in a great position here.
Yeah, he's the guy, and he's going to lead this team, and he's leading this team. Let's talk about the running game, guys. Brad, I'm going to talk to you. David Montgomery, 14 attempts, 65 yards, and a touchdown. The 1-2 punch with Jahmyr Gibbs, he had 15 carries for 43 yards and a touchdown. So overall, the Lions get 108 yards on the ground between the two and a touchdown. not bad. And that was with a pretty slow start in the first half. They didn't do a whole lot on the ground in the first half. A lot of that came in the second half. And this was really the area where the Lions needed to excel, because this is the area that Dallas's defense has struggled against all year. And it was kind of evident because a lot of this I think some of it was schematic, and they made adjustments because they were able to move the ball pretty effectively on the ground in the second half. What were your thoughts on the running game?
Yeah, I mean, they were feeling it out. I mean, there's no shame in that. And to have a balanced offense the way they have, to have a running back room like we have, is a testament to the way this roster's been built. And I think a lot of what we see from the running game and from Jared Goff starts with that offensive line. To Coach's point, Jared's not making things happen on his own. He's making things happen when he has time to throw. These guys are running behind an incredible offensive line. And in the running backs we had last year could attest to that as well. Right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Those guys were running. They're not running as well this year wherever they're at. Philly, New Orleans. These two here are running because of this offensive line and the offense that they're in. So, kudos to Gibbs for being a rookie, to growing every game. Those numbers aren't impressive. 15 attempts, 43. I mean, what
Yeah.
He's not going to write home to his mom about that one. But when you marry it with Montgomery, when you talk about the snap counts, when you talk about the mix match of pass and run, this is an offense. This is an absolute offense that works and control. I think I do think it was pretty balanced, right? With time of possession. I don't think this was this is a 1 point game, right? Like
36 seconds.
Yeah, 36 seconds.
They're a 36-second difference.
This was just these were two very good football teams playing football.
Yeah.
And these running backs did their part. So, and I'm glad they're ours.
I agree with you 100%. And Coach, again, decent numbers for the game. A lot of it was heavy in the second half. But what I'd like to know your thoughts on what you noticed about the line, because I know there were some blocking issues in the first half, and not just necessarily with the line, but also even Sam Laporte had some issues out there blocking. Your thoughts on that?
Well, this is a different animal defensively than what they've really seen in quite some time. I mean, just the way they play it, the way Dallas, just plays, and just how hard they attack, how they can accelerate. They can put 11 football players on the field and accelerate the way they do is amazing. And what Jordan Lewis is one of them from Detroit, Michigan, defensive back, Jaron Curse, former Lions out there doing these things. But what really gets it when they go and if you were for those of Madden enthusiasts out there that give us a look, there's the 4DE front, when they run, but basically 4 defensive ends out there. We struggled with that. Jonah Jackson could not seal his gap. Laporta was a fish. I mean, he was really struggled being able to get a pad on his blocks at times in the first half, just based off of how fast and how hard they triggered. He wasn't getting there. He was not either ready to get there or he couldn't get there. He had to change things up. And they had to kind of change formation, maybe get him in motion, get him going there so he could get his body across, because at times it was getting better too. But they blitzed and we couldn't block it. And that's a little bit of a concern. But we were talking about the Dallas Cowboy defense. And this is, Dak Prescott's really playing well right now and those kinds of things. That defense is what can get them to the Super Bowl. If they were to be the team that beats the San Francisco 49ers or the Detroit Lions or whomever it's going to be, that ultimately, is there at the end, for sure. And that defense made a lot of plays in the backfield. They made a lot of plays in the backfield. And that's something that's going to be definitely addressed with Coach Fraley and Coach Johnson.
Yeah, no, you're spot on there. And Brad, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this as well. Your thoughts on how the line played overall in this one.
Yeah, Andy got me thinking. Like when I was watching the game, I found myself envious of that defense and the speed that our offense had to figure out. Like this was different. This was a different situation than we'd been in games prior.
They are fast.
Now we figured it out. But
true.
Holy smokes, Sam Laporte is going to watch that film all summer. I will guarantee, and figure out run blocking, pass block, whatever. Like that was an impressive display from Dallas on the defensive side, specifically that line. I mean, once again, we wouldn't have gone wrong. We didn't go wrong drafting Penei Sewell, and we wouldn't have been wrong with Micah Parsons over Penei Sewell. You can't have them both.
Mm-hmm.
And we did what we did, and I'm not opposed to it. But man, whoo, that's some speed. That's some defense.
Yeah, they were. I thought that stood out absolutely. They were the fastest defense I've seen the Lions play this year. I won't say the best. Baltimore, although honestly, Detroit played pretty poorly in that game. But I got to tip my cap to the Cowboys, and I don't like the Cowboys. They might be America's team, but maybe I'm not American. I don't know, but I'm not down with it at all. But I do respect them, and I do respect how they played, and they played really well, which is why I'm encouraged because Detroit went toe to toe with them, and as we illustrated and articulated very eloquently earlier, they absolutely beat them. But, it is what it is. Like Coach Campbell said, we'll see him in a couple of weeks. That's the attitude right there. And that was awesome. That's a great comment. I'm not going to scroll through every receiver on this one, guys, because we got a few other things we got to talk about. But, just to kind of touch on a few of the players here. St. Brown again. I'm really surprised, Coach, that he's not on the Pro Bowl as a first alternate. Monroe St. Brown's one of the best football players in the league right now, let alone one of the better receivers. I'm a little concerned about that. He's one of the, I voted on for a Pro Bowl one time this year, and I really base a lot of it on the statistics and PFF's ratings. I didn't go into my fandom at all, and I did pick St. Brown to be on that team, and along with a couple others. But it is what it is. He had a very good game. Laporta, he did come around. He had 7 catches for 84 yards. But, again, the blocking did leave a little bit to be desired. We expect so much from Sam Laporta, but he's a rookie. He is a rookie. And I guarantee you, what he saw on tape and what he practiced against didn't, like Brad said, didn't quite match up to what they actually saw out there. And, trial by fire, right? So, yeah, I guarantee you he will be watching that film in the summer, and he'll learn. Jameson Williams, 2 catches, 69 yards, had a really nice, for the first time, and Coach, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this one real quick, but about Jameson Williams, that was one of the first times Goff hit him in stride deep like that. That was nice. We hadn't seen that yet. But then he went off with an ankle injury, and right now he's kind of iffy to play this Sunday against Minnesota. But talk about Williams real quick.
Well, and he is that. Those are Jared Goff's legs, are Jameson Williams' legs. That's how Jared Goff can get himself out of trouble, is by throwing a bomb, because he throws a beautiful high long pass. Jared Goff is a brilliant deep ball thrower, and he is tailor made for that. He is lightning in a bottle when he can play. Now, I just hope he didn't do it in his, making sure that he emphasized that we got the first down after the catch or something like that. I was a little surprised that, he got hurt. He didn't seem like he was hurt. His helmet came off. I was like, well, he's got to come out of the game. But, that kind of shocked me a little bit. I'm like you. I'm very surprised Amon-Ra St. Brown's not one of those Pro Bowl players. He did nothing that he didn't do last year. And maybe then some. I don't have the numbers directly in front of me. But, yeah, he was great. And yeah, Sam Laporta in the pass game was, a major factor, and he got better. As the game moved. They got him moving a little bit, and changed up some formations and those kinds of things. He was really a good piece of the puzzle in the end of the game, obviously, and he will be. I mean, he's a rookie Pro Bowl tight end. I mean, come on, that's pretty uncommon. Yeah, 271 is what Goff threw for, I think.
Yep.
And obviously this is a 20-19 football game. There's no real stat padding that went on or anything like that. So I mean, it really were we effective through the air? Yeah, we definitely were. I mean, we our last, the tie of the game was a touchdown pass to Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yep.
Converted a ton of third downs. Those kinds of things. So I mean, which was more effective for the Lions against the Dallas Cowboys, the run or the pass? And I guess my answer to that question is yes, because we did both. So did we play good enough on offense to win this football game? I think we did. I think we did. We can just minimize, no picks against the Cowboys. I think and I know that's easier said than done. I don't have to face that defense and try to throw into it and those kinds of things. They're just an absolute bitch. And they're not at 100% either with Diggs, being hurt. So, I mean, that it's hard. It's really hard. They converge on balls that just don't typically get converged on. So I mean, like you said, like the first one, I don't blame Jared Goff for that, really. I mean, a lot of times that's just an incomplete pass. So, hey, we passed the ball effectively.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Okay, guys, let's move on now to this Sunday. Minnesota Vikings are coming to town. Just saw them a couple weeks ago and beat them in Minnesota to clinch the NFC North. Wanted to mention that again because it feels so good saying it. This game does mean something. It certainly means it's a playoff game for Minnesota. They have to win this game, and they've got to get some help. They need a combination of a couple teams above them to lose in order to slip into the playoffs. Now, Detroit, like I said earlier, they're pretty much locked into the third seed. They can't go lower. There is an outside chance they could jump into the second seed, but they'll need some serious help. They'll need Dallas and Philly both to lose. I think Philly's at New York to play the Giants, who they struggled with on Christmas Eve a little bit. No, they did win. And then Dallas and Washington, I mean, that's about as deep of a rivalry as you get, regardless of records. And they got to go on the road. And Dallas, one thing about the Cowboys that differs from Baltimore, Philly, Frisco, Detroit, is they're one-sided. At home, they're undefeated. On the road, they got 5 losses. So they're a very different football team on the road. Where a team like the Lions or the Eagles or Niners pretty balanced. Like 5-2 and 5 and 6-2 and 5-3, I believe the Lions are respectively. I like a 5-3 road record. I don't like a 3-5 road record. That tells me that you're the home, if it's not home cooking, you're going to struggle. And maybe it's because of the fan support the Lions have been getting this year on the road. Not that they hadn't before, but it's been obviously more exponential because every announced team that calls a Lions game on the road has to make mention of it because it's slapping you in the face. You can't deny it. But now this game coming up, the Lions just waived Isaiah Buggs. Does that mean Aleem McNeil is going to likely play in this game? I wanted to ask you guys, why Buggs and not Onwuzurike? And I know, Coach, we talked about this and you had an answer, and I'd like to hear that.
Yeah, I just think, Dave, that it really comes down that they put a second-round draft tender, and they just aren't going to let that money walk. I got to know a kid that played at Marine City before I coached there. I actually coached against him. He's the greatest player in program history. Wound up being Travis Kelce's quarterback at the University of Cincinnati, which has a great story, and they're the best of friends. Brendan Kay and his mother have been in the booth with Taylor and the crowd. He's tight pals with him. He had his opportunity with the Pittsburgh Steelers as an undrafted free agent. And, Bruce Gradkowski had, the days of Dennis Dixon, Charlie Batch, and Bruce Gradkowski had run its course in Pittsburgh, and they needed to find somebody to back up Big Ben. And they had drafted the year before Oklahoma Sooner quarterback Landry Jones, if you remember that name.
Mm-hmm.
And Brendan came out and was going to be a 7th-round pick of both the Tennessee Titans and the Miami Dolphins. But they asked him if he had a UDFA destination in mind that he was already negotiating, and Pittsburgh was barking his ear off that he was going to be the candidate to compete with Landry Jones, and really felt that it would be a great competition and one that he could win. When in the end, Mike Tomlin brought him in and said, hey, we've just got too much capital tied up financially with our 3rd-round draft pick from last year. And even he goes, I think showed more in some ways. But keep yourself ready. We're gonna go with Landry Jones. I think it was kind of one of those kind of deals. I really, really do. And yeah, I think that's for Aleem McNeil. We're gonna get James Houston back. I think, Brad, you had mentioned C.J. Gardner-Johnson's likely to be back here real quick. We have some defensive reinforcements that are going to really be helpful. They're going to really be helpful. My hope is that they're able to get in and not think that they have to do too much, or to be able to get in there and be able to get up to game speed fast enough so that they are able to have some impact. Aleem McNeil, not as worried about C.J. Gardner-Johnson. I'm just worried about him wanting to do too much when he gets out there. And the one that I love him. He's a great kid, and they do, he's definitely a fun element in that locker room is James Houston. And I just hope he can get himself up to speed, fast enough, because it's now guys are, it's at a blazing rate now. Yeah. But yeah, I think that's what that was, Dave. I agree with you. I'd rather have bugs than Runes Week at this point in time. Levy's just never going to have been able to show us very much. He just was hurt all the time. So, but that's how it shook out, unfortunately. Bruce Irvin, he's another one that got let go today, and he was a nice add-on for them.
Yeah, and right there, you mentioning that tells me that's exactly what's going to happen. Those two are coming back. I'm going to predict that Gardner-Johnson's not going to play, because I've been stupid enough to predict he was going to play last 2 weeks, and he hasn't. So he's going to run out of the tunnel naturally, Brad, right? But you're right, Coach. You're adding McNeil's 5.5 sacks back in this lineup. James Houston had, 8 or 8.5 sacks last year?
8.5, I think, yeah.
Yeah, the second half. He didn't even play.
Yeah, in the second half of the season.
He wasn't even active.
Yes. So that's a huge pass rush infusion and more run support for McNeil. Obviously, McNeil's going to be a welcome addition. Getting Gardner-Johnson, that's going to be huge. We didn't see very much of him this year. We certainly know of him in the past, and we certainly liked what we saw. But I agree with you, Coach. He may press a little too much. That enthusiasm, you want to temper that a little bit and make sure it's more about focus. He certainly knows how to win, though. He's been in playoff games. He knows what it takes. So I'm going to trust the professionalism there. But I love that you're not just adding bodies. You're adding significant contributors to that defense. Would have liked to have seen it a week or two earlier, but we'll take it. This is great. But Brad, I'd like to hear your thoughts about this Vikings game and maybe a prediction before we jump into playoff scenarios here. But what's it going to take to win this game? And then furthermore, is there enough incentive for this Lions team to win it? Because let's face it, it is a long shot for them to get second seed, although it's still a possibility. Getting these three guys back, they want to get them up to game speed. But your thoughts on what it's going to take to beat this Vikings team, and then what it's going to mean to the Lions?
Well, I think you control the ball, right? Let's break their spirit. Let's run the ball. Let's run the ball to set up the pass and just score. Like, we're not putting up field goals here. Like, this should be Minnesota's they've had a heck of a year, right? Like they've had bad luck. I don't know about luck. I don't want to use that word, right? But nothing's gone right for that team when everything went right for them a year ago. So, boo hoo. But just control the ball, score touchdowns, take the ball away. Jefferson is probably going to make some big plays. Let's not freak out when it happens. This is a home game. And the fact of the matter is I picked this team to be 12-5 at the beginning of the year. So here we go.
I like
Prove
it.
me right, Dan Campbell.
I like it. I think I said 11-6, maybe 12-5. Yeah, I'm happy with that. 12-5 is better. Coach, your thoughts? What's it going to take to win this one in the prediction?
Well, it's going to have to take all their players playing. I mean, you can't be resting anybody. The CJ Gardner Johnsons and those guys. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about the Goffs. Although would it be great for Teddy Bridgewater to get a start against the Minnesota Vikings? It would. I mean, it really would, because he's really is, when the Lions lose in the playoffs or win the Super Bowl. It will be his last professional football game, and his playing career will culminate. But we need Jared to play in this game. We do. We need to keep him on point. And I know, like, the hot word these days is on schedule. That's what I keep on hearing coaches and these color commentators saying all the time. Can we feather in a little bit more Craig Reynolds? And with Jameer and Dave Montgomery, yes, you don't want anyone blowing an ACL in this game in that regard. Are we going to maybe get, Amon-Ra in and out of the game a little bit more, pending on probably what, Jamison Williams can do. At this rate, maybe we sit Jamison, I guess. We've made a pretty good living this year with Khalif Raymond and Josh Reynolds too. And obviously Sam Laporta. I think Sam Laporta needs to play.
Oh, yeah.
And we can get him out. We can get him out at times. We can, get Sorsdahl involved a little bit more, and some different players, Dan Skipper. We can maybe work on our, eligible, we can make sure that we get those kinds of things done. Maybe each guy gets 2 or 3 shots at it this week, so no one's being deceptive.
I'd almost be a smart ass and carry a sign up that says, I'm eligible. Can you read it?
And then defensively, like, you don't want to rush anyone back in there, but you want to probably keep, let's get Malcolm Rodriguez some more reps. Let Jalen Reeves and some of these got Pittman. Let's get them rotating in there a little bit. Let's get Aleem in and out. Let's not live on those legs yet. Aiden, get him some breaks, which they do. They get him out his fair share of snaps too. But it's going to take all hands on deck. Like I said, Minnesota, but you know what? Hey, I don't think that's the Lions' way. I just think, why we didn't have anything. We didn't need to win that game last year. We needed to take Green Bay Packers out of the playoff picture. Well, we're trying to get this 2 seed. So Dallas may have to come here in the second round, or and you know what? Maybe we want to try to eliminate the Minnesota Vikings from playoff contention, just because that's what you do in competitive nature. So I mean, we just have to be the Detroit Lions, and I think they're going to try to win the football game.
And I'm assuming you're going to take them to win this football game. Indeed, I would think.
Oh yeah.
Okay. I got it. I got them winning 31-17. I'd like to see Bridgewater take the last few snaps of this one to at least get in the game in that regard, because he is going to retire after the season. That would be nice, because that means it's pretty much victory formation at this point. That'd be a good thing. So yeah, we all see the Lions going 12-5, which is the most wins they've had. The 91 team was 12-4 in a 16-game season. So And I know there's probably a billboard on I-75 that might be scrawled out and say 13-4, which I can appreciate. That was pretty clever. I don't know how much.
12-4 right now. So,
yeah, it's 12-4 now. So yeah, I mean, I think they'll win too. So let's talk about but I think they'll stay in the 3rd seed. Much to what the point you guys both made. I don't see. I see Dallas beating Washington. So at the end of the day, they'll be the 2nd seed. Frisco's going to be in the number 1 spot. Detroit 3rd, 4th. Who knows what Tampa's going to do? It's hard to say. I think they got the inside edge there. Right now, it's looking very much like the Rams would be the 6th seed. But guys, I read today, and Carson Wentz is going to start for the Rams in San Fran. Matt Stafford's going to sit. Now, the Niners are going to rest a lot of guys too, so maybe that's the rationale behind it.
Yeah, that's
and Carson Wentz is not, a 5th round draft pick, right? I mean, this guy's played in the league a little bit, and he's a number 2 overall guy. To number 16 was one spot ahead of him actually in that same draft, if we remember it. So interesting stuff. But the Green Bay Packers are very much in play here. If the Packers beat the Bears, they're in, and they'll be the 7th seed. They would go to Dallas to take on the Cowboys, and they're going to give them fits. Your guys thinking about this out loud, I don't have a preference personally because I don't think there's a bad team that makes the playoffs. So, I mean, either way, it's going to be a tough one. But wouldn't it be nice to see Stafford back in Detroit against the Lions in about 2 weeks? Your thoughts, Coach, your thoughts on that. How would you feel about that one?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that would be great. And it's not like, we'll want to, although there's part of me, I'm bad that way. I'm I guess a little meanness in me. It's the evil empire that I got in me, that I would love to see it shoved in his face and the place going crazy while he's walking down the tunnel. I mean, is it at his expense? No, I don't want to see that, but I don't want to see him win. I want him to see us win. We got to see him win. Remember the Detroit Rams? Remember those days?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Glad they're over with.
Maybe it's time that we get to cash our chips in. The people that were not Detroit Rams. And if it's Green Bay, we owe them too. They came in here and beat us this past year. And damn it, the last time we had a home playoff game, we had Brett Favre throwing bombs to Sterling Sharp to beat us. And that's also the last time we won the division. So, we need to correct that wrong and I guess exercise that demon or that spirit, if we need to, as well. So, I mean, we'll take either one of them on, but yeah, I'd like to see it be the Los Angeles Rams, who are a very good football team. And Matt Stafford is playing really good right now. Sean McVay may be making a mistake because that's about how you get a little rusty, is when you take times off. That may not be the best move in the world. Have him somehow not play, then all of a sudden he's got to come into Ford Field, which is heavily, heavily emotional for him. And it is. I do believe he loves the organization. It would be that's a lot for him to bite off. And on top of it, the team's going to look to become, they're looking, hell bent for fire to win this game. So, that could be interesting, but that shall be that will be the conversation I guess we have next week this time.
It would be nice. Definitely would be nice. Brad, the closing thoughts from you, your thoughts on the possible first round matchup.
Yeah. I mean, whoever we're playing is going to be eligible to be in the playoffs. Whoever we're playing is a good football team, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. The Stafford story is incredible. I mean, but that's not the only story. Guess what? Our quarterback, Jared Goff, has a heck of a story. You think he wants Sean McVay's head on a platter?
Ooh,
yes,
yeah.
Sir. Yes, sir, he does.
There's the other quarterback, too.
Mm-hmm.
So,
that's a good point.
That would be emotions in check all over the place if it's the Los Angeles Rams coming to Ford Field.
Well, I did it. I did it in my little statement there. What quarterback didn't I talk about? Foolish.
Ours. Right, ours. Jared Goff.
Guns blazing. He'll go 42 for 42.
Yes.
Yeah.
It'd be awesome.
He's got it in him.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I'm all for the Rams. I don't want to see – I live here, right? I don't want to see that. I mean, and I don't think anybody here in Wisconsin thinks in their heart of hearts they're frightened about the Chicago Bears. This game here is that's 2 levels of football. Beating Minnesota and beating Carolina ain't beating the Chicago Bears in the 18th week of this year in the NFL. Chicago Bears are coming on.
They are.
That's our future competition.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they were going to be an absolute thorn in the side the whole season, the way they started to take their season. But yeah, they're playing now like I thought they were going to the whole year.
Let's just hope Paul screws up the offseason. Let's let him continue to make mistakes.
Pick the wrong first overall.
That's our competition. In the next
This I agree with you guys, and this is going to be a hell of a weekend. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's nice to be able to sit back and know the playoffs are on the horizon.
They raised that banner at Allen Park. I saw a photo of that today.
Oh, did they?
Them.
Yeah.
Good for Dan Campbell. I'm glad Dan Campbell's our coach.
Yep. It's been a special year, and here's hoping it's going to continue well past the second or first round. I would love to see a rematch in Dallas in the second round. That'd be an interesting one, very much so. And there's payback owed there, not just from this past Saturday either.
It's a demon exercise from years past.
Mm-hmm. And lest we forget, the one playoff game most of our parents' generation has even seen the Lions win was the 91 playoff game. And actually 1992 is when it occurred against the Dallas Cowboys. YouTube, it's a beautiful thing. One of the epic Barry Sanders runs you're ever going to see. And in a game, I think he only had 67 yards rushing in, but didn't matter. I think they won 38-6 that night. So that was a great experience. That was a weird year, guys. They'd beaten Dallas in week 8, nearly the exact same score, exact same fashion that they did in the playoffs. And then they got it back from Washington. Washington kicked the crap out of them in week 1. And sure enough, they pretty much did it in the NFC Championship. That was interesting. Let's hope we don't see any more of that this year. But I think we'll see some different things. It's a different team. But for Brad Harrison, Coach Andy Shield, the Marine City Mariners, and my name is Drew. Go Lions! Take care, everybody. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the sports. Enjoy this. We haven't been able to enjoy Lions football like this in a long time. We can talk about 2014. We can talk about 2016. Man, those seasons didn't even compare to this. This is special. Let's enjoy this and let's ride it out. We got a hell of a team here, and let's see what happens. Take care, everybody. We will talk to you next week. This has been the Sports Peninsula Podcast. To subscribe to the podcast, simply click the subscribe button on our YouTube channel's homepage and give us a like. You can also follow our audio podcast on multiple platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Google Podcasts, just to name a few. Give us a follow on Twitter. Our handle is @SportsPPodcast to check out our latest releases. Thank you again for watching and for your support. Remember, when you want to hear all about sports in the great state of Michigan, there is only one Sports Peninsula Podcast.